just to make it clear, we're not playing bingo here. Scared me, all of these people here. Ambe tukile michante ta o la ke na hana pe chiza pero daya ya hibi ushima la chewi chashamelo o he chaje mi tawa na wamnisha ke doba ima chabe o ma kia na Nakota. All my relatives, and again welcome here to the Dream Drum perspective as it relates to some of the things we're wishing to accomplish up in Poplar, Montana. That's where we're from, but we have one of our mentors here with us that has kind of been guiding us and bringing us along. He's originally from Standing Rock area, and he's a teacher down there of the language, but he has helped us to understand the importance of some of these tools and that implements that we utilize as it relates to developing our character, not only as a Ekchewi Chasha, but also as singers and dancers and announcers and all that good stuff. And we realize the importance of kind of developing one's character, and you hear that quite often. You'll hear that, and a lot of people don't understand what that means. A lot of our contemporary younger folks don't understand that, and so through what we understood about the drum, we realized the importance of the protocol that was instilled a long time ago by a young lady named Eagle Tail Woman, Wambli Sinte, and she brought that forward with the understanding that this drum carries a medicine within it that relates to the Wankian Wiyakekida, or the thunder beams, and it works with them to provide us with an understanding of this healing process as we realize the importance of our connection to Mother Earth. And again, we was talking with a young lady this morning, in a contemporary way, we also refer to these gatherings as powwow. But what they really are is a oshkate. And it's a celebration. It's a celebration of life, to humble ourselves to this higher power, this spiritual energy that helps us to humble ourselves in a good way. And as we do that, we realize that our connectedness to the Mother Earth is important. And the drum provides us an opportunity to maintain a respectful connection with the Mother Earth as it relates to our existence or our purpose and dedication in life. And for many of you, you realize that in each of your families, there's usually just one that will kind of represent not only themselves, but their family, their tribe, their community, and indigenous people all over the world as it relates to and kind of like peace all over the universe. And that one person, they're depending on them to understand certain things as they go throughout living their life, pursuing their purpose and dedication. And as we do these things, we realize the humility or the humbleness with these, utilizing these elements or these tools like the drum, that it gives us that understanding of the medicine that's provided for us for this healing, this celebration of life. And so in a good way, we are here to help us all come together in a good way as different tribes, different families, different societies represented here today, to kind of realize that there's a foundation, there's a basis for some of the decisions or choices we make sometime in a fast-paced world like you see today. A lot of them call it powwow. It's not really a powwow per se. It's a oshkate. And until we slow down enough, until we realize the importance of the protocol, we're going to kind of overrun it, and then eventually we'll have to stop and go all the way back and relearn what we left behind. And so that's the purpose of this today. What we did is we utilized a book, a reference that was called the Dance Drum of the Ojibwe. And in that it mentions some of the story or some of the history of Wamblisin and how she wanted to utilize this drum and the manner in which we vocalize this, in a sense, Huachekia, in that heartfelt cry that we utilize on behalf of representation of ourselves, but on behalf of others, so that they can realize their purpose and their dedication. And Eagle Tail Woman was provided with a vision to bring that forward, and that's what we'll be sharing with you today. The importance of the protocol, the importance of not telling you anything, but sharing with you, okay? I think that's important to understand, because in that sense, we can remain apolitical and apersonal. Does that make sense? Okay? Lakota Himachal, Nakona Miano. So when we say those things, we share with our people that I have a basic fundamental understanding of this natural law value system that we live our life by. Even in a contemporary, fast-paced world where we gotta compete with everybody else to pay our bills, drive a nice car, live in a nice home, all that good stuff. We gotta keep up with them. But it's important to realize the transition it takes to go from that fast-paced world to a more natural law provided way of life that's a little bit slower, that helps us to understand the importance of who and what we are as Dakota, Lakota, and Nakona people. And so that's what we're wishing to help you understand and realize the importance of that, because oh man, the way things are going, in a sense, the COVID is really, there's a silver cloud in that dark cloud of what they refer to as COVID. It helped us to understand to slow down now, kind of take it a little bit slower, because I think we're going too fast and we're leaving behind a lot of these qualities and characteristics of what initially was intended for, and that's what we're going to try to share with you today based on the medicine that's provided to us. We created one of the first drums. We made a first drum out of a whiskey barrel. Was helping us and guiding us, and you get that whiskey drum, and we cut it in half, and then there's all that residue of that whiskey in the inside, so we had to sand that all out. And my older brother was kind of looking in that drum, and that dust was coming up and smelling it. He told me no money. He got drunk, and just smelling those fumes, it must have triggered him. Then right away he wanted to fight us, And after that, he's going to start crying. Oh, I love you, I love you. And then he was trying to cook up after that, put 2 wieners in a frying pan. He woke up, the house was all smoky. Some of the stages of that learned behavior has brought us to, but yeah, that was him. Not me, that was him. The fumes got him started. 30 days later, we found him somewhere behind that one place. Next, the classic. But in a good way, we come here to not tell you anything, but just to share with you some really good things as it relates to what it means to be a contemporary First Nations person, that a lot of us live by the natural law process, the value system that exists there, and utilizing these tools that have been provided for us in the respect that they're really due. And my older brother will share that with us. So with that, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce Chin Taaniche. Some of you may know him as Earl Bullhead, but I know him as older brother, and I always try to help him out the best I can, and so I tease him like that, and but he don't drink 50 some years or something like that. He hasn't drank, but I was wondering how come if he don't drink, why does he act like that? But anyway, my relatives again, this is my older brother, Nietzsche Ole, Earl Bullhead.
I had the opportunity a few months back to go to Boston, and I had lots of intentions, buying a Celtics jacket, Patriots jacket, but I didn't have much time because I spent the time with priests, and in their meditation, they don't talk. They spend the day in prayer. And so I was kind of lost in that world for a while. They sang, so I tried to keep up with that, but their style was a little different than mine. So anyway, I learned a lot by understanding so many things we have in common, but we don't communicate them enough. In the beginning, learning how to sing and learning how to deal with what was going on in my life, a lot of the Tomi stories helped me. And when I got on the airport in Minneapolis, when I switched planes, my son designed this case for me. And this is not a hairdryer. And so suddenly in that world that you go in from reservation life into the contemporary life, right away you try to look cool, And this is how I was walking around the airport. So there's two worlds we live in, huh? I want to share a song with you later, take it out. But we started this concept or this idea many years ago for myself, and that's what sobered me up. It's been a long time since I've been in a bar, and now I can walk in a bar, no problem. But there's one factor involved. They call it ichiha. I was always bumping heads with my old lady. And she gets mad and don't call me an old lady. What does that mean? So I said, you're philosophy. I'm philosophy. I said, and so then from that day forward, I put my guard down. I do not argue with her. I do not go against anything she has to say. I accept it, and we're still together to this day. It's awesome. So with Shashagela, you have to come to understand to learn how to wash dishes, change diapers. If you come to that step, you are a house husband. But though I was watching the Donahue show here, they were talking about house husbands. So I had my apron on, still kind of wet. Just got through with the breakfast dishes, the little things I needed to get done. Sent the kids off to school, got them dressed, got the lingerie. All those things. I would never thought I would be doing that in my life. Because I was raised to be macho, So anyway, so I sat down to watch, and here they start talking about house husbands. I said, well, yeah, I said, that's what I'm doing. You're talking about me. Psychiatrists, sociologists, they're all discussing what it's like to be in that role as a father. And I was learning that. And one of the questions that arises is, what do you do when there's a milk ring from a glass and cookie crumbs on the table, and the breadwinner comes home and says, what'd you do all day? Watch TV? I didn't think that would happen. One day, sure enough, it was a busy day. I didn't get to clean the table off, and my missus walked in. She looked at the table like that, and she said, what'd you do today? I says, I suppose you watch movies all day long? Get anything done today? She said, look at that table, full of milk and cookie crumbs all over the place. What'd you do today? And so one of them suggested and said, you know, you can help. It popped in my mind and said, honey, I said, you can help. Tusweca, where'd you get that TV? My role as a Tusweca, I did not really understand a lot of those things. Came from the elderly people. And this journey that I stepped onto, I went to treatment 4 times before I could really grasp what it means to walk the right road. And the only way it happened is my counselor, Lakota, Mr. Gene Thinnell. And I learned how to cry, and I learned how to pray, which was really hard. You know, when you're raised in an environment where you're told to be a cowboy, you Nakota, you tough it out. It's a rough world out there, you tough it out. Those things, we were raised that way, to be competitive, to shaking hands, direct staring. Gotta find that balance. So he showed me that. And so walking through it, I was sitting in a talking circle, and I couldn't believe the things that our women go through. And I thought about that, and when I put my missus through, and that lump started coming up here. Couldn't control it, it just kept trying to come up, like a volcano trying to erupt, and all those feelings that I kept inside, I was trying to fight it. I swallowed, drank water, and trying to control it, but it just kept coming up, coming up, coming up. And my brother, I adopted, was raised in foster homes all his life. He turned to getting buffed up. He looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger. So I used to tease him. I said, geez, when you go number 2, how do you manage it now? Oh, I don't know, right up in the head. And he started sharing his life, what happened to him. He ended up coming to treatment from prison. And he got to the point where I couldn't control it anymore. And so I was sitting there just shaking. And I looked at my counselor, and you know how we communicate. He looked at me and he used his lips. I looked at him like you know. So I stepped up and I walked into his office. He put a tennis box on the desk, gave me a bucket, and he told me, he said, "Che ya kago, tokhashni, che ayo. Don't be afraid to cry. Let it out." I looked at him and said, "How does he know that?" And there are bubbles coming out, really nice. Shaking, and pretty soon it burst. Oh my goodness sakes. When I sing, I'm loud, but man, I cried so loud, I couldn't believe it. But it all I began to understand the power of prayer. And it became part of my life to learning how to pray. I go to church. I sing in churches. There's probably one place I haven't sang in. I've sang in morgues. I've sang for suicides. Made songs for all various occasions, weddings. And so I've had that experience in my lifetime. But there's no greater feeling of loss than when you lose your voice. So I'm very happy here today to be able to share with you a song that I think pertains to what I'm about to show you. And so I want you to listen and feel it and hope that it helps you. And the way it happened was there are many challenges, many confrontations out there that we have to go through as singers. And this lady, Hektawi was her name, Mrs. Agnes Green. She is my Mrs.'s grandma. She's a Lanji. And she used to visit her a lot. We'd go to her place and she talked to us about the history of the reservation. And that was very interesting because I learned a lot. She told us that the bluebirds are bullies. Chase all the rest of the birds away so they can eat everything. And so as a lot of time progressed, we spent a lot of time with her. And she used to always encourage us that the only thing we ever really have for each other is prayer. And so knowing that, when Agnes stepped into the spirit world, my missus said, I want you to make a song for Grandma. And this is a short notice, all of a sudden she requested it. And I've been in situations where I had to come up with songs to honor people, like James Eater, being nominated for a Congressional Medal of Honor. That's in place. That's going to be happening. I had to make a song for that honoring in Fort Peck. And so I've been in a situation before with various places. So I had to think about what she used to do to us, what she used to tell us. And so I started thinking about it. And so she said, I want you boys to go over and sing Grandma into the church. And we've done that for people. We used our hand drums, and we brought her in. And the family, the son and his wife, walked up to us and said, we don't want that here. And I was kind of shocked, and I said, well, we were invited, so I apologize. I didn't mean to offend anybody. She said, we don't want that here. And I was kind of shocked because he was raised on a reservation. And his missus was Caucasian. So somewhere there, and I really felt bad about it, so we left. And one of the missus come back and she said, why are you looking so sad? And I said, I told her what happened. She said, you go ahead and make that song. She said, pray and get that song ready for Grandma and sing it when they're laying her to rest. And so that evening we sat around and kept talking about things, laughing about it, things she used to tell us. And so I started putting it into words. Now, the backbone of a family is your missus, so she said, you better start writing those things down because you're going to forget it. I won't forget it, it's here. Well, believe it or not, I called my missus by the wrong name, so I know I'm suffering now. What did you say? I said, what did I say? Who? I don't know her. When I was working in Fort Peck, I got a phone call from Eagle Butte. And there's a veteran. I never met him, I never got to see him. But he told his family and requested that I come and sing for his services. And his last name was White Eyes, but he suffered from Agent Orange. And so I was very honored to drive down to Montana to go to his services. And after it was all over, I was approached by the family and they transferred to Nakota. And so I've gone to many, many places with this little hand drum here. And sometimes, like things happen to it. I was smudging it with a candle in here. I burnt the hide and somebody said, gee, Dr. Linda, she's on honey. All the time, it was one of the last things burnt. So him and I have experienced a lot of things. So this is a heartbeat for me, small as it is. I compose a lot of songs on it. So bear with me. It's been a while since I sang this song, but like she's right. So I start writing a lot of these songs down so I can memorize it. So this is going to be the first time that I've ever done this. And so Mike is supposed to record it, but I don't know where he went. So anyway, he messed up. It's a wonderful thing to be able to utilize what's available to us that's in the archives, and we're going to talk about that. But I want you to listen and kind of think about your relatives, and the message that Spirit of Song says, and I hope that it helps many of you. But it's very touching, and it's an honor to sing it for you. For many years now, it's touching to memorize people in such a way. And we all have that opportunity. We all love to sing. You all sing in the shower. Huh? So it's a gift given to us. But when we put our language into it, our customs into it, it becomes our heartbeat, it becomes who we are. So I encourage you that don't be afraid to sing. You know, I started out singing at an early age because I didn't know any better. You know, when this Renaissance began and there were meetings all over, you know, the first thing that I heard was 49 songs. Holy smokers. And I went up to Haskell, so they'd sing 49s, you know? So at the beginning, whatever those Southern boys sang, we sang, but we sang them higher. So they got through singing over there, then we started singing over here, all the northern tribes, you know? And so singing those songs like that, and women dancing and cha-la time, it was fun, you know? Holy smokers. He's standing one girl from some other tribe with a skinny little waist. And then, holy chana, chili. So, I brought this attention to how else can I bring attention to how to present our songs and then recognizing what was given to us in a very special way. We needed, our parents, our families needed protection from the state of Minnesota. Governor issued a bounty on our people. As tragic as it was, they offered bounties on our people. Can you imagine that? $200 a scalp, child, no matter. So people came in just to do that. And so the coming of this dream drum, how it was brought to us, gave us protection, gave us unity, told us that it's going to reunite a red nation, and that's us. It's going to do it through song, dance, color. It moves our spirit. And so I thought about it and I said, you know, what did they implement and what did they utilize back in those days? And number one was the first established drum was done on an abandoned military wash tub. They put a deer hide on it. Now, we chose to put elk on it here, but them days they used Holstein cowhides. Everybody had a milk cow, or at least had access to one. You know, and it became a very precious thing to, when that milk cow went down, man, there was bartering going on. Because that's tone of that hide is special. You know? And so what would be used for the frame? You know, they didn't have no saws that could do the job, and the nails that they had, no, we got screws now. But they had nails with square heads that temper out. Can you imagine trying to put one of those into hardwood? And all they had was just a saw to do all the cutting. And then getting the bands off of it. Of course, you know, everybody at that time to the industry shipped everything in barrels, wooden kegs. And that brings me to my question. I tried it yesterday. So I'm going to ask you just to kind of keep you sharp. You all know what a keg is, right? It's not an aluminum one, referring to a wooden one. You have a 10-pound keg. What do you put in it to make it weigh 9 pounds? Here we go. Don't hush me. I knew it. A 1-pound hole. Okay, another one. I had the opportunity to speak to producers and actors and all that stuff, and it kind of makes me feel proud sometimes because I got a hug and kiss from Angelina Jolie. How many people can say that? She shook my hand. She said, "I think you're such a comedian." They asked me to explain a song prior to the movie called Ishi, The Last of His Tribe. And so when I stepped out on that stage, you couldn't see nobody out there. Those lights are just bright and standing out there. I said, it's customary amongst our people to make people feel welcome. Come on in, we have that. And so I said, I'd like to make you feel comfortable. I said, and that's humor. I said, what do you call a row of rabbits that take a step backwards all at the same time? No light bulbs again, huh? A receding hairline. You guys are sharp today, boy. Yeah, it's Halloween time. You got no teeth in front, and I'm here. So the process in which we started this, I really enjoyed what we did because it involved students and involved a special, unique experience. That there was somebody there whose relatives was mentioned in that reference that we use. The dance drum of the Ojibwa. I didn't know nothing about it, but there were many questions I needed to answer as learning to be a singer, the responsibility. Where'd that drum come from? How did they make those drums back in the day? What did they utilize? And so I began, and quite coincidentally, sitting at a powwow, I met a gentleman that spoke Dakota. His name was Louis Garcia. I don't call him Louis Garcia, I call him Dewey Garcia. Big D. And that's the other thing. When I moved to Fort Peck, I had to pick up on the dialect too. So I play around with Nakona, Nakota. These guys all speak Nakona. And also, you hear it and you make analogies and say, oh yeah, there's similarities, we understand each other. All it is dialect differences. So it's very enjoyable to meet people like that. And so having these guys' company, sometimes I just kind of have to shake my head and say, I think I got what they're trying to say. So I try to help them much as possible. And so I decided, I said, well, I'm going to call them and see what I can do about that. And so I called Tommy. I said, you ever thought about putting a presentation together to educate our young? Educate those people that, how would you say, never thought about it. to this day, I still gotta remember, I went to a celebration of United Tribes, and they sang the flag song, Porcupine Singers. Oloa and Kawapa, Oloa here. So I asked this guy beside me, I said, Hena, Oloa, Hidaksha Kabe. And he said, Slovash Nilokala. He said, that's Skokash Niluka, Takum Nisluyan Chiche. So I went to an elder person and I said, Hidaksha Ieki Kwake, Hidaksha Kabe. And he said, Slovash Nilo. So here we have all these people in Najibna, and they honored our flag through a song, but yet it was the respect and gesture because of their military background or relatives that were in the service. And so that made me curious. So popcorn boxes, napkins, any form of something I could write on, I would start writing words down the songs that I heard. And so I got a whole box of them laying at the house and I haven't touched it. I've been very fortunate, all right? And people recognize that, and they would bring me collections. I got the Rhodes collection, I got the Walker collection, I got the Densmore collection, and so many other tapes that were brought to me. But I'm still old school. I haven't learned how to digitize things yet, so I'm looking forward to that. And I also have the Densmore collection. And so each moment, my thoughts have always been, how can I keep going, get this onto the young? And so I sing for them, and they like to dance. As young as they are, usually they pick it out, you know. It's the bullet, and they say, oh, chica. So yeah, and so I sing the song, they'll get down and dance around. And so I knew then, I said, what's a vehicle other than the voice? And so that's when this idea of this drum, to teach them about the heartbeat of a nation is us. So it began. And so we all got together and we started thinking about it. And so it became a reality. And it was very enjoyable to see those students working on that craft. And all I had to do was supervise. I didn't have to do manual labor whatsoever. Because that's a lot of hard work scraping a hide. You know, some of you have done that. And I'll give you a secret. I wish I knew this a long time ago, but there's a lady in Fort Peck that Tom was telling me about. She tans hides, but she got she's getting rheumatism, so she can't scrape the hides like she used to. Right? So Tom asked, well, how do you manage to tan hides? So she got a high-powered water sprayer, and she would spray that on the fat and the color on the hide over a tree trunk or over a branch, and get all that taken off. One guy should have thought of that a long time ago, you know? The Kohan, base scrapers and all this stuff, and pulling down that arms like Pablo after a while. And so you learn something every day. So those of you who are ever going to do that, think about that. Just think you just plug it in, put a hose on it, and get the eye down in no time. Take the hair off the fat meat. But it's still a good experience to do it by hand. So this procedure of constructing this drum was very, very unique because Elijah found out where we get these. It's a barrel. You know, so we cut it in half and we have another chance to carry it on and let more students learn how to make it. And so stretching it on that, there's a certain elasticity to that. If you make it too tight, you gotta try to sing way up there, sound like Mickey Mouse and Mindy. Hi, Mickey! You know, if you got too low, it's sound like Elvis, you know. So you have to know what that is. I use a ruler, and I lay over the top, and depending on the distance between the bottom of the ruler and the skin, I can judge where I want it to go. So you got cow hides, buffalo hides, elk hides, bear hides, all a variety of different hides that you can use. But putting them together, I can pretty well judge where the best sound is going to be, but you cannot beat in Mount Kalahai. It's just natural sound. So we're going to present this, and we have not struck it yet. All right? And we'll do that in Fort Peck. So this drum has already traveled, and that's how it was done many years ago. When it was first brought, people in the communities, surrounding communities, wanted this to become part of the community. It took 12 days. 4 days were used to sing the songs and to talk about each song and what it was going to do for our people. The protection, the healing, the medicine that's associated with the songs. And so they would sing together. The next 4 days, they would listen. The singers who brought the drum, they would listen to the new ones learning it. And so they get the songs right. And the last 4 days, all right, they would present the whole drum ceremony on its own. And it's all over. In Minnesota, they call it the drum ceremony. Down in Topeka, they came to my house one time, this drum committee, and they brought me some green stuff. And I didn't know what it was, because the first thing that I did was I opened that warm, and I thought maybe he was bringing me some PG, you know. But I didn't know any better. And all that time was that's their tobacco. And they were bringing it to offer and have me work with them because I knew how to read and write. And all that time, it was associated with that big drum. So in the beginning, there was no utensil on the drum. You know how today they hit the drum and then they come down with 4. So why not? They got that. They get carried away with that now. Not the drum and I put it in forever. Hit it 20 times, taking turns on there and singing. Sum me out. They said, you're taking it too far. And so the first thing I asked them, I says, you want a beer? They said, no. They never came back again, never asked me. So you learn as you go. So that drum traveled to all these communities, and the same process took place. And so now, what was going to reunite a red nation is not only on this continent, but it's gone abroad too. We have hobbyists over there, and they have big powwows and everything. You know, so it's touching the world, especially with what we have now, with all the technology. Some of the essential understandings are being taught in Africa, and being taught in Australia. So we're touching, that heartbeat is touching the world. So I want you to understand that the responsibility of being a drum keeper. Halloween's coming around the corner. I'm getting scared now. And so, being on that drum, one advice was, if anything's important, it'll come to the drum. So the years that I started singing on that, and sitting and watching, taking care of that drum, all right, there are many, many things that come to it. You know, I've had to translate names, sing songs, ask me words from, so it was just part of the gift. They get me coffee, or they get me something to eat, and that's enjoyable, you know, but I don't expect it, it just comes. So the process began. Kevin Locke, a flute player, dancer extraordinaire. He came to my house and he brought me a bunch of cassettes. And it was the Densmore collection. He said, he said, I know you're going to do something with this someday. And I was surprised. So I started listening to it, to tape number 1. But it didn't match up with the chronological order, because I was trying to learn Sundance. I just got out of treatment. I needed something to buffer what I was doing. So I was looking for that spiritual aspect of our people. Learn the songs or whatever it takes. So I'm looking at the Densmore collection. But those songs just didn't match up. And so what am I going to do? I put it through synthesizers, I put it through equalizers, and trying to figure out what are they. What's this? Doesn't match up. And so Ablushka, I gave up on it. Couldn't figure it out. That's not a couple of years trying. Then I went off to college, went to school. And in that process, law, they call it Kokashla, intervened. I'm walking down a street behind Chester Fritz, and when we were little kids, we used to jump up in the air, stick out our tongue and try to catch that big snowflake. Did you ever do that? When your kids have a contest, laugh at each other, fall over, and Okishni, Ichalawaki, it was fun. When you study, your brain gets watery, and you kind of get Ganashkina, and there's a big snowflake coming down. And so all of a sudden, I ran, I jumped, and I stuck my tongue out, trying to catch that snowflake. Here comes another one, trying to catch that one. Students stopped looking at me, probably thought I was losing it, on drugs or something. And then the way that snowflake was coming down, the word Ia came in. And the way it left is Iaye. So when you put those words together, Iaya means to go. They say, Ho Iaya, go. And Ho Iaye, it's left. So one is current and one is future, And I thought about that and I said, hey, this fits in that song. I'm listening to it. So I played hooky, went back to my apartment, and I put everything up, and I started putting those words into that song. And so this is what it sounds like. It's called a Song of Departure. All right? So it just, hear the words as they go. It goes, It was sung by a drum keeper, a song keeper, who was in Dakota, but he's singing the song in Dakota. And it was brought to us from the Isanti. And so the significance of that book was the research done on it, and so the opportunity to meet the person that did the study, did the book, Thomas Bennett Jr. I got a chance to meet him. I was out singing for Kevin when he won an award. And so we went and sang at the Georgetown College, it's university, the chance to go and sing for him there. And so I took the time to look this guy up, and I went to his office. Met him, had drums in each corner all over his office. And I started talking to him about it. And I said from what and how it came to me. And so he said, have you ever heard them sung? I said, listening to that tape, I said, I have an idea, version. I said, have you listened to them? He said, yes, I have, he said. So this Washichu guy took on his drum, and he come over and he started singing a song I just rendered. In our language, you say, Kabalash. He was butchering the song, and that didn't even come close to what I heard. so I didn't know how to approach it. And I said, well, would you like to hear my version? He said, yes. So I sang that song to him, and another one. And the first thing he asked me, he said, you have that written down? You have that recorded? I said, I've memorized it so far, but I said, that's what I hear. He said, you mind if I record it? And I thought to myself, whoa, what have I stepped into here? So I said, it hasn't been prayed over, it hasn't been blessed. I have to do that at home. I said, I don't think it's appropriate right now. And so, a couple of years later, he passed away. So who knows what he would have done with it. So it's very important to be that protector in knowing what you're doing when you're studying songs. Know where they come from. Know how they're used. And there's no greater gift to hear your work be used amongst our people. I was working on a sound system with Chris at the Ulana Fair and Rodeo, and his boys sang an honor song for Chico. And they sang a song that I translated and recorded. And man, you talk about goosebumps. I sat back and closed my eyes, and man, I sounded so nice. Oh, that was beautiful. The work is well done. Talking to myself. And then the next drum that came up, called Showtime. He sang a song that I translated. Right away my foot started going, Misha, 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 Misha. I wanted to dance right there. It made it sound so good, you know? So that experience is our reward for the work that you do. So stay humble. You know, it works out. So we're about to, yesterday, Shitao Shuku. They gave us an hour. Now, how much time have we utilized so far? We're supposed to stick to that, you know? Yesterday went for 2.5 hours. You know? Then nausea, I was going like this, like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You know what? Come on, he does it. But he kept going, So we want to keep it short so we have any questions. So what we're about to show you, you're going to almost, you ready? It's something that last night I suggested to Elijah. I said, the gentleman that put this together is very talented. If there's some way you can recognize it, he said, but this is just the beginning. There's other footage. There's other footage that's to be put together. And he said, you can take it and put it on Facebook, another one, Hotspot or something like that. And I said, I don't know about TikTok, I said. So that was my suggestion, but hopefully that's all going to turn out and see how the public accepts it. So I hope you get a message from it and take it to your kids, take it to your children, and show them how things can be done with your hands. Our kids learn from physical activity, along with our color, our sound. So enjoy it. My name is Earl Bullhead. I'm an old member of the Standing Rock Reservation. Right? Now when you're at it, you need to find the center. Okay. You need to find the center. I've been a teacher now since I was 19 years old. Okay. I wanted to know where this all began. Often wondered, why there's certain things that we have to practice in the drum that are still carried on. It's a little bit too much, You want to make sure those going first. So those who understand the ways of the drum, they'll find protection. They'll find faith. songs that we sing on that drum in our language. And our composed our relatives, forefathers. So it's important to remember those things. It's a study. Where does that song come from? Who composed that song? Let's not forget, you know. And there's got to be some honor.
Could go down just a little bit.
I'm gonna get closer on this line.
It's like a friend, you know, like money that you have to take care of. So, you know, just go on with it. Cautious about his relationship with your brother. So you don't want no will in there.
That's pretty good.
So you don't become what they call as a singer, they call it oha, keeper of songs. The thing to do now is get as much of that middle part sanded down outside. Yeah, rock sander. Yeah. Being that caretaker and that drumkeeper is also a responsibility. You gotta be prepared for the song. Naming songs, giveaway songs, thank you songs, warning songs, closing songs, flag songs, different types, different songs. You have to be knowledgeable about the songs that you sing. I stayed 39 years old for 6 years because I didn't want to get older. And after I learned the word for chala, chala means to be knowledgeable, wisdom. Chala is a blossom. So when I accepted that, God, read it. I started giving my age. I was the first certified language teacher in North Dakota. And I worked out here. So that's all I do is teach kids the language through songs. I listened to Walpo's advice, and I'm not that age yet. He said, whenever people ask you to do something for you, you're depending on you. So you do your best. Because there's a common time when you get old and you can't do those anymore. You're low in your heart and your mind that you've always done your best. You just go do that way, let's do it. You should just fix up. Or just snuggle, okay? I'm 72 years old. Every time. Every song I ever sang, I do my best.
What's that?
It's really a wonderful life that we can work towards, especially our goals. And one of the words I used to always think about is the word Wa'ushila. And I said, where did that come from? You know, the love part at the end of the word is a form of how would you call it? It's like making it very special when women use it. You know, washtela. You know, Mayang washtela. And for men to say it like that, I said, do I do that? Or do I try it? So I started putting washtelu in there. Washtelu. Then I started getting the idea of femininity and masculinity. that our language is very important. Remember that our women use words different from men. Like for instance, the word ha. Men say do, wo, or yo, but ha is for feminine, gender. I was walking down the hallway one time and there this girl come walking by. Hanta! She said, Hanta! I said, that's a man's word, you know. Ladies should say, Chavia or something nice like that. No. But here's this young girl going, Hanta! You know. So we work with all kinds of those kinds of things, but one of the things I remember most of all, I'm not sure which high school it was, but I was walking down the hall in here. This young boy was putting a book on the top shelf, his locker, and this girl walked by and up here. He bent over, he turned around and said, she likes me. I said, geez, what's going on here? We don't know how to express ourselves sometimes. And boy, was that hard for me. You gotta learn how to share your feelings. And so my counselor, Jean, said, don't forget, she said, you have to exercise and learn how to share the emotions. So my missus and I were in Grand Forks, home and economy, shopping there. I was thinking about that. I was walking, we had 2 carts. When she go shopping to LA, I mean, she went into a dollar store. We ran out, it's just a dollar store. She spent $400 in there. I was thinking about that and I said, this is a good time, there's nobody around here, you know. So I walked up there and I put an arm around her and I said, Peggy, I said, I love you. I never said that to anybody before except my mom. But she pushed me away. She said, what's wrong with you? It hurt my feelings, you know. I didn't know what to do, how to react, because they said, you gotta learn to show your emotions. So I kind of walked away like this, and I didn't really talk to each other for a long time. And on the way back from Grand Forks, we just went past where that white buffalo calf was born, and there she said, Earl, I'm sorry, she said, but I need to go to treatment too. She's never drank in her life. If she has, I've never seen it. So she went. We've been together now a little over 50 years. As long, you know, when you talk about your sobriety, they say that's grandiose behavior. So I kind of forgot how many years it's been. So when I took that old brewski, when you see that foam coming down that glass, see your mouth starts getting saliva. But you develop the tools, you know, to combat that. You keep it in check. And sometimes it's not easy, especially when you're under stress and all this stuff. And man, having people that respect you and love you, you can't beat it. My oldest son, first time in his life, was allowed to go on his own. He was a silversmith. On the way back from Orange County, California, a semi pushed him into the median by Saunders, Arizona, and ran over a Chevy 10 pickup. And after impact, he made it for 45 minutes and passed away. So that, and those steps and those things, it hadn't been for that counseling, hadn't been for my missus and my friends who helped me go through the sweat, college staff. You know, when you do things for people in a good way, it's going to come back to you. You know that. I had no as a student. I used to have to do arts and crafts to get gas money to go home on weekends. And all I had to my name was about $10. I said, I'm going to make it to my son's funeral. I walked into the Merrifield Hall at UND campus where I taught language. and there was a pipe and a glass case put together. And so I went up to the director and I says, you know, that's inappropriate. If you're going to use a chanook or a pipe, you need to not going to use it. Disassemble it. But now I said, who's using that pipe? And I've been sitting there for years. And so the word got around that I was concerned about it. And my secretary, Mary Kessling, who just recently passed away, I had to sing for her. That was hard. And the Alumni Association had a meeting and they asked me to come and smudge the whole basement of the Chester Fritz Library. You should see that place. They have bones, they got artifacts, war bonnets, eagle feathers, collection of donations that was given to the school, either at digs or actual holidays. And there was a feeling there. And so I went down there and we smudged everything and I sang for them and all that stuff. And I felt very good about it. That they finally did something about it. And somebody knocked on the door, and there was the president of the Alumni Association, Mr. Bullhead, who had brought you Alumni Association, on behalf of Alumni Association, we bought you a ticket to Albuquerque. I looked at her, I said, thank you very much. And I shook her hand, I gave her a hug, I said, thank you. But I had to be, how would you say, tranquilized, given a shock, because the trauma that hit, I became very close to that breaking point where I just wanted to walk over to the liquor store and drown myself. Yeah. A phone call rang, and it was my missus, you stay where you're at. I said, they're coming. Okay. And so my friends, who I later adopted as my brothers and dad, they took me to the sweat, showed me the way, what to do. And so I traveled from Grand Forks to Albuquerque. And I was getting off the plane, and there was a man standing there with a sign that had Bullhead on there. And so years ago, they used to talk about the temperature being the hottest place in the United States called Bullhead City. So out of curiosity, I said, that's interesting. He said, are you Earl Bullhead? I said, yes, I am. He said, I'm here to drive you from Albuquerque to Gallup, New Mexico. One of his students became my brother to a Hoka, like Tom and I. His name was Miles Eller. He too passed away. We went and made it to Gallup. He said, have you eaten yet? And I said, yeah. He said, well, you better get something to eat, he said. So we pulled into this cafe. And while we're sitting there, people were going by. And here, this voice said, Earl, is that you? I looked up and here is a former princess of the United Tribes powwow. I sang for her when she was crowned. She said, what are you doing here? I said, I'm looking for my son. I lost my boy. She said, you stay here, I'll be right back. So she drove me from there to the funeral where my son was. So when I say, be good to each other, be good to each other, because you're going to feel it, it'll come back to you in a good way. And I've experienced it over and over and over and over. You know, we teachers, we don't make a lot of money, you know. We make enough to get by. And I sang for a lady named Robin Red Eagle Baker. When I first went to a Poplar, they asked me to sing for her, so the only song I knew was a positive speaking song. And maybe some of you heard it. It's on Red Road. And so that was the appropriate song. So I sang it. She received $10,000 and a trip to Hawaii, round trip, for the eastern part of Montana, the western part of Montana, they selected someone else. And I thought that was, geez, man, that is awesome. And so as a teacher, I was given directions to watch certain doors. So I'm standing over there and watching the kids come out and help them stay in order. And these fourth graders are starting to come out. And this little chip, a little boy, broke the line, come running towards me. And the teacher was trying to catch up, so I stopped her. He come running up to me, he looked me in the eyes and he said, "Mr. Bullhead," he put his hand out. I shook his hand. He said, "I thought they were talking about you." I think about that and it is an emotional response that I've done my work. You ever experienced that at Tusweca? We recognize the little kids in such a way. We work hard, we do our job right, well, language will return. I want to thank all of you for coming. And then when you watch that, you got good hearts, good minds. Be good to each other. Look, shout, hit, shout.